On this videotape, we'll be covering yellow belt curriculum. Starting with the foundation stripes number 2, which is yellow stripe for yellow belt. Starting with the stances, the first stance we're going to cover is the horse stance. So Miss Justice is standing in her attention stance. And when I say horse stance, she's going to step out with her left foot, and she's going to put her left hand out in her front punch position or jab punch position. She wants to make sure that her feet are just slightly wider than her shoulders, that her knees are slightly bent and pushed out towards her toes. So she should look like she's riding a horse. And this be holding on to the reins of the horse, her 10 toes pointed straight ahead. Those are your feet in the stirrups, and her body looking like she's sitting on a horse. Now, a couple mistakes that people make is they let their knees come in like that, or they straighten their knees out, or they have a really too wide of a stance, which we call a cow stance. It should never be that wide. The only time you ever make a horse stance that wide is if you have taken somebody down. Okay, so come back up. So again, she's back to her attention stance. And then I say horse stance, she steps out with her left foot. She punches, and she would say immovable force. Horse stance is stable from side to side. The way, if you're training your child at home or someone else at home, the way you can check it is you should be able to push on the side of the person, and you should feel like you can't move them. And that is the horse stance. In the footwork section of the yellow stripe for yellow belt, your footwork is what's known as a cross step. A cross step is also a stance, but it's not a stance that is held, okay? So a cross step you're going to need for when you're learning your kata. So Justice is going to practice a cross step. So from her horse stance position, she's going to step one foot in front of the other. She's going to place that foot flat, lifting the heel of her back foot, and then stepping through, okay? So from a side angle position, from a side angle position, when I cross step, I take my left foot and I step in front of my right. I lift the heel of my right foot so that my calves touch each other. And then as I step out in a horse stance. If I were to go the other way, my right foot in front, lifting my left heel, stepping out into that horse stance. And that is the cross step. Okay, in this section of the striking and kicking portion of the yellow belt yellow stripe, the first technique we're going to work on is what's known as an uppercut or a back to knuckle. They're basically the same strike, they're just done in a slightly different way. Okay, so the first one is an uppercut. And an uppercut, Miss Justice will get in her ready stance with her hands up. Okay. Now, she closes her fist because she knows she's going to be doing a striking technique. An uppercut is done with either the lead or the rear hand. Doesn't matter which hand. So you're going to do, obviously, lead and then rear hand, but it can start with the rear and then the lead hand. So an uppercut comes to where my hand is like this. Okay, so she's going to punch up, and she's punching across. Notice she's punching across. Why don't you go over there and turn towards me. So when she's punching, if you're holding the pads or holding your hands out for your student, see how she's crossing over? She's crossing over. And she's lifting that heel again, just like we did in the white belt jab cross series. Okay? So she's striking upwards. Now, if she was doing a back to knuckle or a back knuckle, I would place my hands like this, and now that punch extends out. Still done in the same fashion, but as you can see the difference, this is an uppercut, upper being helping you to understand that you're punching up, and then back knuckle is this way, okay? So again, you would do 5 with the left foot forward, 5 with the right foot forward. Next, we're gonna do what's called the low hammer. The low hammer also is also known as a down counter. The down counter, when you use it as a low hammer, you're using it as a strike. When you do it as a down counter, you're using it as a countering motion to either redirect a force or using it in a self-defense technique. So we're going to do the low hammer. So Miss Justice is going to, again, get in her ready stance. And now from here, in the ready stance, she's going to take her hand, she's going to drop it down and making sure that you stop within your zone of defense. So no further than the outside of her leg. And she can do it with her lead hand or she can do it with her rear hand, okay? And that is your down counter. So the next technique is known as a hammer strike. So again, she's in her ready stance. She's going to bring her hand up by her ear, and then she's going to swing it forward in an arcing motion, stopping almost like if you had a hammer in your hand and you're swinging that hammer to hit a nail. Now, depending on her target, depends on which part of her hand she would be using as a striking surface. She could be using her knuckle or her pinky knuckle, or she could be using her middle finger knuckle, depending on the target that she's aiming for, okay? So, but she also wants to make sure that she stops even with her nose, so she doesn't cross her center line, and that is a hammer strike. The next technique is known as a reverse hammer, and reverse hammer is movement you're gonna find in the Nihonchi katas. So she's going to bring her hand up to her opposite ear, and as it comes out, she swings across and stops even with her shoulder. So, and again, she's using that pinky finger knuckle as a striking surface as she does this strike. The next technique is known as a back palm. So think of the reverse hammer, but with your hand open. So she's using the back of her hand as it swings out, striking if she were striking my hand, just like that, okay? And the knuckles of your entire hand are your striking surface. Now we're gonna go on to the kicking portion of the striking and kicking section of your yellow belt, yellow stripe. First one you're gonna do is called a front kick. So again, you should know the 4 parts of a kick. This is also part of your red stripe of the curriculum, is knowing the 4 parts of a kick: the up, the out, the back, and the down, or the chamber, the rechamber, and the plant. So if Miss Justice does a kick slowly, she'll do the up, she'll do the out, the back, and the down, okay? And this can be done with either the front leg or the lead leg or the rear leg. So she's gonna do a back leg and then she's gonna do a rear leg. Okay, so do a back leg, please. Okay, snapping it out, and then her front leg. Okay, and again, so you would do 5 and then switch and do 5. Okay, now switch. Okay. Notice she's bringing that knee straight up in a rising knee, and then she's snapping her foot out and then pulling it back into another rising knee and then planting it down. Okay, and a really important key factor here is to make sure, again, start to finish. Wherever her foot is, when she throws the kick, when she finishes the kick, it should end up in that exact same spot. Okay, she's gonna turn sideways so you can see, and a good way to practice this at home with your children is just to stand in front of them and let them use your body as a target or a guide without them kicking you. So she can do front and back, okay? And pick targets on the body that they can strike with. The striking surface of this would be depending on whether you were wearing a shoe or not. If you were wearing a shoe, you would point your toes in what we call ballet toes, because then you can use the front of the shoe. But if you're barefoot, you would pull your toes back and use the ball of your foot, okay? The next one she's gonna do is called a push kick, done almost the same way as a regular front kick. And she's gonna do it on me so you can see, because this is a kick that is less of a snapping motion and less of a trying to hit something and more of trying to get it away from you and push you away. So if we back up slightly, she's going to get in her front kick position. She's gonna lift that foot. She's gonna place it on my stomach, and then she's going to push and extend her leg out. So she doesn't want to, when her foot connects, she doesn't want her leg extended like if she was doing a regular front kick. She wants to push, boom, okay? As opposed to a regular front kick, she would snap it out and kick the actual target. And that's the difference between a front kick and a push kick, okay? So that concludes the striking and kicking portion of the yellow belt, yellow stripe. Okay, in this portion, we're going to cover the counter and some drills that are included with the counters, some of the counters and the techniques to help you to learn these, how to apply them. So the counter that we're going to do is something called the brush elbow, otherwise known as the cool guy. Okay, so Miss Justice gets in her ready stance. Her hands are up, which is going to aid in the speed. This is really important that we're constantly always focusing on keeping your hands up. Your hands and the distance that they travel is a key part of how you create speed. So the brush elbow or the cool guy is used for defending against anything that's an attack to the side of your head. Now, we're going to do this without footwork first, but then we will do it with footwork. Okay, so if I swing and I'm trying to hit her in the head, she literally puts her hand against the side of her head and I would run into her arm or her elbow or whatever. But see, I cannot reach. And then I do it on the opposite side. And this is very important. You see she's doing it from the opposite side, that she's placing her hand against her head right behind her ear. She doesn't want to cover her ear, but she also doesn't want her hand to hover because something hits her elbow, it will hit her own hand into her head, which, you know, you don't want to hit yourself in the head. Okay, so the way we practice this is that we would swing, and that way she can do that motion. Now, if she adds footwork in, she's to step straight towards me. Not a triangle step, but what is known as a half step forward, and it's just moving forward. So if I swing, she steps towards me. So now I'm perceiving, or it's looking to me like she's going to try to hit me in the face with an elbow. Also just kind of disrupts the whole attack, okay? All right, so we're going to bring in Miss Virginia now, and we're going to go through the first drill, which is known as the wing drill, or the chicken wing drill. Okay, so in this drill, they start with their hands up. One person is going to reach over and grab the other person by the wrist. Now, this is going to tell Miss Justice which way to step. Whichever hand she's grabbed, she steps with that foot and she points her elbow right at Virginia's nose and then drops her elbow straight down, okay? And then do the other side. Good, and now you grab her. So they're stepping forward. It's very important that you step as you point that elbow and that you point that elbow towards the nose and then drop the elbow straight down as if you had a laser pointer or something coming right from the elbow and you're drawing a line from the nose to the belly button. Okay, now, when you're training this to make it more dynamic, you would not just go left and right, back and forth. You would move around a little bit. Okay, so move around a little bit, and you make it totally random. Yes, good. Okay, and stop. Okay, the second drill it's called the inside-outside drill, otherwise known as the Harry Potter. Okay, so this is for if both people have their hands down low and they're grabbing across. Miss Justice is going to bring her hand up like she's doing that reverse hammer strike, and then when she gets to the top, she's going to flick her wand and push that hand off. We want to make the connection that it's a quick flick of the hand and not dropping the arm all the way down and leaving your face exposed. Okay, back and forth. Another way of thinking about it is that when the person is grabbing your hand, can you grab me? The person's grabbing your hand, that you're bringing it up like you're going to wave hello or goodbye, and then you're coming here. The person doesn't have to let go of your wrist, because if I did this and I did this and they didn't let go, I have another hand that I can push it down with. So now we go dynamic, we move around, and we do it random. Good, and stop. All right, very good. Thank you, ladies. And that covers all of the yellow stripe for yellow belt curriculum. Okay, in this part of the video, we're going to be covering the green stripe for yellow belt, and this would be your power strike combination. So at this point, we are going to start addressing how to do some of these techniques using a little bit of power. Again, these can be practiced shadow boxing. They can be practiced on hand pads. They can be practiced on your empty hands, or they can be practiced on a heavy bag. For the video purposes, we're going to do them on the hand pads. And again, if you were doing it on a heavy bag, you would possibly either mimic or pretend like there's a fake attacker when you do your counters, and then do the rest on the bag. So the first drill, we start, they're in their position, ready position, okay? And Miss Justice is going to do two, what we call haymakers, as Miss Virginia does a brush elbow and a brush elbow, stepping towards the attacker when she does it. She takes a small pause, and then she's going to do jab, cross, uppercut. Okay, and then from there, she's going to do a front push kick with her rear leg, and then following with a front kick with the rear leg. So it's two rear leg kicks. So in other words, she's pushing her partner back, so she has to follow. So she's using that kick. She's pushing her partner back, so she has to follow through with the next kick. Okay? So again, we go brush elbow, jab, cross, uppercut. Okay? Front push kick. Okay? And then front kick to the pads. Okay? One more time, a little bit quicker. Ready? Brush elbow, jab, cross, uppercut, front push kick, and then your front kick. Good. Okay? Combination drill number 4, because that was number 3, the only thing that changes is now we're doing a front leg, or a front kick with the rear leg, and then a front kick with the front leg. Okay? So again, she would do brush elbow, jab, cross, uppercut. Okay? Then she goes front kick with the back leg, and then front kick with the front leg. Okay? Again, jab, cross, uppercut, front kick, front kick. Okay? Notice she's not switching her stance. She's just doing a rear leg and then a front leg. Okay, one more time. Good. Okay. All right. The Hanshi Shodan, you're going to start with your heels forming a V or a 45, just like our attention stance as we bow. I come up left hand, even with my face. My right hand, I hit in it, and then I'm going to bring my hands slightly towards me. My feet come together, and my hands turn over on top of each other as I poke down. From here, I'm going to cross step to my right. You're going to be going to your right. So I cross step, I step out. I go back palm, making sure that my back palm is shoulder height. From here, I'm going to bring my hand and my elbow together, and I want to make sure that I turn my body as I do it. So they come together, and then I'm going to go to cup and saucer. My left hand is on top of my right hand, which means I'm now going to go to the left. So I go left, I go down counter or low hammer, and then I'm going to pull my left hand back to my side as I punch in front of me when what's known as a grab and strike with my right hand. Now the kata is telling me I'm going to the right, or the left, sorry. So I'm going to continue going that way. I cross step to the left, step out, I bring up a back knuckle. From here I front punch in front of my stomach so that my hand is even with the knot of my belt. And I'm going to roll the hands. Now I'm going to punch up in a back 2 knuckle. I'm going to lift my left foot, touch just underneath my knee on my calf as I do a reverse hammer. I'm going to lift my right foot, touch just under my knee as I do a hammer strike. Cup and saucer on the right side, and then I double out to the left. From here, it repeats. So I do what we call open to the left. I do an elbow strike to my hand to the left, and then I go cup and saucer. From here, I go down counter to the right, grab and strike to the right. I cross step, stepping out. Left back knuckle, right front punch, roll it into a right back two knuckle. From here, I kick up, reverse hammer out, kick up, reverse hammer back, cup and saucer on my left side, and I double out to the right. Hands come in together and down as my feet come in together, and then I bring my hands to my side as I step out and I double punch. And that is step by step how to do Nahanchi Shodan. Did I hear it go ding or something?
There was something that ding.
Probably my phone. Okay. So, we're going to do it two ways. So the first way, you're going to do it facing the camera. The second way, you're going to do it facing one way or the other. It doesn't matter. Okay? Miss Virginia is going to give you a head-on angle of how the kata is supposed to be done at full speed, and then she'll do it from the side. Okay, and now from whichever side you want. Nicely done. Thank you. A couple of small things to watch when you're doing your kata. One, you want to try to stay in this horse stance. You're going to find that sometimes when you're doing your footwork that your feet will start to drift out. Always readjust and re-evaluate your stance. Okay? Second of all, when you're doing movements such as the grab and strike, don't keep your body straight. Relax and turn your body into them, and then unturn your body into. You want to be using your body's rotation in these techniques and not being stiff and what. When you get to this part here, you want to make sure that you kick up, put your foot down, then do your strike. Kick up, put your foot down, and then do your strike. Try not to blend them all together. And the only other thing when you do your double out, make sure you do not cross your center line. So if you do your double out, and you feel like you're wanting to cross over, simply turn your center line. So don't rotate your body, or feel free to rotate your body. And that is Nahanchi Shodan. Nahanchi meaning iron horse, Shodan meaning first level. On this video, we're going to be covering yellow belt, blue stripe, which is your groundwork number 2 stripe. The first thing we're going to be working on is your break falls. Now we're going to be working on something called a forward fall, or sometimes you'll hear it called a sprawl. When at yellow belt, you are only required to do these techniques from a kneeling position. So Sensei Danny here is going to kneel down, okay? And he's going to do it so you can see it from the side, and then we'll turn so you can see it from the front of the camera. So obviously when we're falling forward, somebody's knocked us and we're falling forward, we don't want to fall on our face. Right? So the first thing we need to do is he needs to put his hands up, his arms out like this, and you want to make sure you put all your fingers together. The smaller children have a tendency to do this or other things. You want to make the shape of a triangle, and all your hands, all your fingers are out. You're landing on your forearms, not your hands, and we'll show why in a minute. Okay, so he's got his arms out and he's got his triangle going. He's going to turn his head to one side or the other. That's going to tighten up your arms so that protects your shoulders when you fall. So he's going to fall forward, landing on his forearms. Now he's going to look behind him and he's going to throw a back kick. And he's going to, can you hold that kick up? He's going to make sure that kick is no higher than my knee. because he doesn't want me, again, to get close to him. He wants to keep me away. Okay, so come back up. Now, if he were to fall forward and land on his hands, go slow, fall forward, land on his hands, his body would keep going, and he's going to bend his wrists, and he's going to injure his wrists. So he wants to make sure he falls on his forearms. Okay, so one more time. He's going to fall forward, look over his shoulder, and kick. And remember, it's important, do your break fall first, set yourself, then throw your kick. And that is the forward fall, or sprawl. In this clip, we're going to be covering what is known as the knee drag walk. Now, this is a really good exercise, good way to build leg strength, but it's a vital tool when we're working on techniques such as the tackle the giant that you'll learn later. So it's how you maneuver yourself into that position to do this takedown. So from your listening position, again, another reason why that listening position is important. It's not just a position you go down to for paying attention. It also has self-defense applications to it. So Sensei Dana is down in his listening position. So he's going to make sure that when he does this motion, he's going to drop down on one knee. You pause right there. He wants to make sure from here that when he pulls his back leg up, he doesn't step too far ahead of himself. He wants to bring it up so that, you see, he's in the listening position again. And he's just going to keep repeating that sequence of movements. So if you can move forward. And again, notice he's keeping his back straight. He's keeping his hands up as he's moving forward. Okay? And that is your knee drag walk. In this video section, we're going to cover the tackle the giant, which we talked about earlier. So we're going to use that knee drag walk. So we have Sensei Kevin and Sensei Dana here. So Sensei Kevin is going to step forward. And he's going down in his listening position. And Sensei Kevin, Dana is going to be the person that's doing the break fall and being taken down. Now, if you notice, Sensei Kevin went down on one knee. His knee is pointed out towards the direction where he could escape. He wouldn't want to switch knees because, can you switch for a second? That would mean that his area of escape is directly into Sensei Dana. So he wants to make sure that he, switch again, that his knee, your knee is always going towards the direction that you want to escape. Your head would go that same direction also, okay? So from here, he's going to reach down and he's going to, like he's grabbing a mug or a cup or something, he's going to grab with both his hands Dana's ankle, all the way down where his foot and his shin meet, okay? Now he's going to take his shoulder and he's going to push into Dana's leg. So he's using his body weight, not his arms. And he doesn't want to pull only with his hands, the foot up. He's more thinking of that's keeping that foot from being able to escape out. And he's pushing with his shoulder so that he can drop Sensei Dana. Now, if he needs to, if he's pushing and he finds he's getting a lot of resistance or Sensei Dana could move his foot, then Sensei Kevin would use his knee drag walk to continue to move forward. So what he's going to do is as he pushes with that shoulder, he's going to drop, boom, see? And now he's there and he's taking Sensei Dana down, okay? So one more time. He moves in, he grabs the ankle, he drives forward with the shoulder, taking them Sensei Dana down. Now, that's a tackle the giant single leg takedown. We also have tackle the giant double leg takedown. Not much changes other than you're now grabbing both ankles and you can choose which side or the other that you wanted to do this on, okay? So again, Sensei Kevin's down on one knee. He grabs both the ankles and now he still drives with his shoulder, taking them down, making sure that he's holding on or tries to hold on to those feet when he takes the person down. And that is tackle the giant. In this video, we're going to cover the mount. So at yellow belt, blue stripe, you're learning the mount and how to maintain that position on the ground. So we would be going from your previous lessons at white belt, learning how to do the pin. You would go from the pin to the mount. We're starting to build a transition flow drill, or what's known as a kata, that you're doing on the ground that is all of your positions on the ground. So Sensei Kevin and Sensei Dana are going to start kneeling down, as we do. They would do their grappling bow, and then they would do their grappling link up. From here, Sensei Kevin's going to take Sensei Dana down to the pin. Now, he's going to make sure that when he goes to the mount, he's going to slide his leg over Sensei Dana. He doesn't want to do something called the peeing dog, which we'll show in a second. Okay? Notice that Sensei Kevin has both his hands should be on either side of Sensei Dana's head on the ground, but not too close. He doesn't want to be too close. There you go. Okay, we call it planing out. And he's tucked his heels in underneath Dana's thighs, and he's squeezing with his knees. Okay, and this is the mounted position. Can we do that one more time, gentlemen? This time, can you demonstrate the peeing dog, the mistake? Okay, so as Sensei Kevin takes Dana down, when he goes to the pin, if he tries to lift his leg to just swing it over, Sensei Dana can counter that and stop it very, very easily. So he needs to make sure he puts his knee in the pin position, and then you slide your knee over, okay? And then he planes out. He wants to make sure his hands aren't too close to Sensei Dana's head, because later on when you learn the mount escapes, that makes it even easier for your opponent to do the mount escape. Now, from here, Sensei Kevin is going to execute what's known as the Spider Kid or the headlock mount. So the only thing that changes is he's going to slide one hand underneath Dana's head like he's trying to give him a headlock. He makes sure that his other arm is out nice and far. And if you notice, he tucked his head down, so he's putting a lot of his body weight pressure on Dana. Now, from here, we're going to do something called the Spider Kid. So we're going to learn that next. So this is the headlock mount and the standard mount. So now we're going to cover the high swim and what we call Spider Kid. And these are ways to maintain and keep your mounted position. The first one we're going to do is the high swim. And this is how to counter if someone is pushing straight up on your chest, trying to lift you up. Sensei Kevin is going to, if you notice, as Sensei Dana pushes up, okay, he's bringing that hand. Can you go up and then pause? So see how he's bringing his hand to the inside of Dana's arm, and then he's swimming it through and making sure he puts it back down on the floor, and then he does the other side, okay? Common mistake people make is when the person pushes up, they do both hands at the same time. Sensei Kevin only has 2 points of contact on the ground, not 4, and it's very easy for Sensei Dana to bump him and put him on the ground on his face, which is not a good thing. Okay, so one more time, he pushes up, one in, and then the other. And that's the high swim. Now, if Sensei Kevin got Sensei Dana in the Spider Kid or the headlock mount, typically the person would try to roll you towards whichever arm is bent because they feel that that's the weak position. So to counter that, when Sensei Dana bumps Kevin, he switches his hands. So he makes sure his hands just slide along the floor as he does it like Spider-Man, how his hands grip the ground or grip the wall. That's how he switches his hands. So a good way to practice this is to do 3 on each side. Okay? And again, and one more time. And that is the high swim and Spider Kid. In this video, we're going to cover yellow belt, brown stripe execution, which is your self-defense techniques. And in this one, we're going to cover the upper wrist grab techniques and the double cross wrist grab techniques. We start with the upper wrist grab, which is because most people, when they get scared, they do this. They bring their hands up. Okay, so we're going to cover what to do if somebody grabs your hands from that position. So the hands are up. Sensei Kevin is grabbing. Now this doesn't matter if it's one hand or 2 hands. You will do the same thing. A lot of our techniques, it doesn't matter if they're grabbing with 2 hands or 1 hand. Actually, if they grab with 2 hands, you're safer. We call these dum-dum grabs because he can't use these hands to hurt me. So from here, Sensei Dana is going to pin Sensei Kevin's hand to his arm, okay, using that hand. Sensei Kevin cannot stop him from crossing his hands, okay? So he pins that hand. Whichever hand you pin, that's the arm that your elbow swings over, and you point your elbow straight to your partner's nose, and then you drop your elbow down, closing your armpit, okay? Now from here, he's going to step back, and he's going to take him down in what we call a drag down armbar. So he just takes him down on his belly so that he can beat feet or do whatever he needs to do. So let's do that one more time, gentlemen. Okay, so he pins here and down. Good, okay? Let's do it one more time, but just show from a single so that they can see. So if he grabs, see he pins that hand, he swings that elbow over, does this S-lock, and then takes him down to a drag down armbar. And that's your defense for a upper single or double wrist grab. Now, the next one, our hands are down low, and the person is grabbing us cross wrist grab. Okay? What that means is they're reaching across the body. Now, why would somebody do this? Maybe Sensei Kevin is trying to pull Sensei Dana to turn him so he can punch him in the back of the head, so he can put him in a headlock. There's a bunch of reasons for this. But he needs to, first thing we need to do is remember to ask ourselves the question, what's the weapon? The weapon isn't the grab, the weapon is this hand, okay? So we need to take that out of the equation. So by just swinging that arm up and doing our Harry Potter, okay, that would block this hand. But he's going to trap the hand to his wrist as he does it, okay? Now he's going to put his S-lock on, and now from here, he wants to kick with his back leg to Kevin's back leg right above the knee. That's going to turn Kevin's body that way, and it's going to roll his ankle, possibly injure his ankle so that he can't run after us, but it turns him away so that you could run the opposite direction. Okay, so let's do that again. Grabs the wrist, pins the hand, S-lock, and then the front kick. And that is your self-defense techniques for a single, oh, we need to cover if they grab you with both hands. So he grabs with both hands. This time you need to bring in, you get help from your friends. You need to bring in what we call the helper hand. So his free hand, Dana's free hand, is going to come underneath the pinky side. So when he does it, he's going to come underneath the pinky side so that he can help guide that hand up. He pins the hand. Now he's got that S-lock, and he just continues as if it was the single. Okay, so one more time. Grabs with two hands, swings it up, goes to his S-lock and kick. And that is your defense for the cross wrist grab, single or double.